Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of showing my horror DVD collection, and I will leave the link up here for the first part where I showed literally the franchise that I owned. So this second part is going to be basically of DVDs that are not part of a franchise, and I'm really excited about that, so stay tuned for the hot rest of the video, and welcome back to another video here on this channel, Royal Horror.
Jungle of love.
And let's start with Train to Busan Peninsula, and I haven't watched this film, to be honest. I'm really excited about it because I have heard positive things and negative things, so I just can't wait to watch this. I think I will like it because I was such a big fan of Train to Busan, one of the best zombie movies ever made. I literally cried, but yeah, I'm really excited about this. Now, next film that I have is Dead Silence. I haven't watched this film, to be honest. I really regret that because this movie came out in 2000. I just bought it basically because it says of the creators of Saw. Next movie that we have is I'm a Legend, and this movie I have only watched it once, but I'm very excited to check it out. The next films that I have are Friday the 13th, the remake is not a secret. It's my favorite movie of all time. We also have Sinister, a very creepy movie that I will always love watching it. We have a Split. Yes, this movie is horror. It's literally horror. I don't know why people are saying this is not horror. I loved it so much. I think the acting is phenomenal. We have Dreamcatcher, a very underrated horror film. Please check this movie out. You will not regret it. Alright, the next movies that we have are The Ring, and it's not a secret that I love The Ring. I really wanna own the rest of the movies, including the Japanese one and including The Rings from 2017. I love the color palette. I think Naomi Watts is one of the best horror icons ever, so I really love that. We also have House of Wax. I really love this. It's one of my comfort horror movies of all time, and I think it's quite cool. The storyline is very great. We also have The Orphan, one of the best movies from the 2000s. I think the plot twist the first time that you watched it is insane. And finally we have Cabin in the Woods. Now, Cabin in the Woods I think is very overrated. And don't hate me, but I think this movie, it doesn't deserve 92% in Rotten Tomatoes. I really don't care about that. Right, the next films that I own are the Amityville Horror. I have only watched this like twice or 3 times, so I don't really remember this, but I'm very excited to check out this after. We also have Relic, one of the newest films from last year. I, to be honest, haven't watched this at all. I'm very excited to watch this because I have seen this has so many good reviews, so I'm very excited about that. We also have Us. It's not a secret that Us is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I think the concept from this movie is very unique and very disturbing. And finally we have 28 Days Later. Now, the thing with this movie is that I have to give this movie another chance because I have only watched this once and I really got bored. But people say this movie deserves so much more, so I'm really excited to give this movie another chance. Now, the next movies that I own are Mirrors. Now, Mirrors is very underrated. Please check this out, and even though it's quite cheesy in the middle of the movie, I think it's very deserving and I think it's very worth the watch. We also have Seven, and this is one of the oldest films that I have. I have only watched this once, so I don't really remember, but I remember this being so unique and so creepy, if that makes sense, and I remember the end being quite surprising, so I'm very excited to check this out. We also have Silent Hill. Now, this movie is so good. I really loved how they managed to give us a live action from the video game. I'm very excited to own this because I, to be honest, have only watched this twice, and I remember being so creeped out because of this character and because of the nurses, so I'm very excited to watch this again. We also have You're Next. Now, You're Next is so good and it's so entertaining to watch because this movie is very straightforward, and I really like the final girl, I like the gore, I like the death that this movie has. Now, the next movies that I own are The Strangers, one of the most disturbing movies ever made, and we also have Don't Breathe, a great invasion home that I really love. We also have The Grudge. The Grudge is one of my favorite demons of all time, so I'm very happy about this. And I love Sarah Michelle Gellar, so I'm really happy that she is one of my favorite movies, and I really like this movie. And finally we have Candyman. Now I have only watched this once, so I don't really remember, but I do remember being so creepy, so I'm really happy to check this movie out. And the next movie that I have is Eden Lake. Now this movie made me realize that I have emotions that I didn't know I have. This movie is so disturbing. This movie is the reason why I hate Chaps and Karens, and also I think the ending is very disturbing and very creepy. We also have The Last House on the Left. Now I have watched this movie only twice. I don't really rewatch this so much because it has any scene that I really don't enjoy and I think it's way too long, and you know which scene I'm talking about. But apart from that, I do know that the end of the movie is very satisfying, and I think the final act is very good. Also have Frozen, and this movie is again very underrated. I don't know why people haven't watched it so much. Now the next movies that I have is, this one is Creep, and this one is quite funny because I have never watched this and I only bought this because I thought this was gonna be the fan footage, but it's not. So I haven't watched this Creep. I'm really excited about this because I think it's quite terrifying. People have told me this is terrifying, so I'm very happy to check this out. We have Zombieland. If you know me, you know I'm not a big fan of horror comedies, but I love how Zombieland knew how to be a comedy and horror movie at the same time. I love the characters. Next we have is Godzilla from 2014. Now I really like this movie. I think I have watched this like twice. And finally we have Julia Eyes, or in Spanish Los Ojos de Julia. And I really like this movie. Again, it's very underrated. I think the concept is very cool, the performance is really great. The next films that I have are Jennifer's Body. You know me, you know I love this movie so much. I think it was way ahead of its time. I cannot wait to do a review of this movie, but please check this out. We also have 13 Ghosts. This movie is insane. I love this movie so much. We also have It Follows. Now It Follows I think is very underrated because it really talks about a topic that society just wants to avoid. And we also have Hereditary. Now this movie is very disturbing. I have only watched this twice. And finally, the final movies, the horror movies that I own are Blurays, and they are The Woman in Black. I have watched this only once, I don't really remember, so I think the time that I rewatched this is gonna be like the first time. We also have Devil's Knot. I have never watched this in my life, so I'm very excited. We also have The Haunting, and I don't know, I haven't watched this, but it looks very cheesy, but I think I'm gonna like it. The final movie that I own is a Blu-ray, and that movie is The Invisible Man. Now, if you haven't checked out the Horror Fans Awards that Haunted Hippie made over her channel, please check that out because this movie is gonna be mentioned over there, and I really love this. I think this movie is perfect. It has one of the best visual effects I have ever seen, great acting, great plot twist. I love this movie so much, one of my top 10 of all time. So please check this movie out if you haven't. Alright everyone, so I really hope you enjoyed this part. I really hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2 showing my horror DVD collections. I really love to own horror. I really love to also own non-horror. I have a quite few franchise movies that are non-horror. If you want to check that out, please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to show you my non-horror DVDs. Just stay tuned for the next following videos. I really hope you have a great end of the week. Don't forget to follow me on my social media and subscribe and give a like and leave a comment. That really helps me in a tremendous way. And I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.